Okay, so as Shav said, this is my first time on the Southpaw stage, and so I wrote something completely new for it. I just finished writing it last night and it's a bit nervous, as you can see. It's never been out before. I work in a school for children who have severe special educational needs. They have severe emotional and behavioural disorders. The piece that I've written is in response to events that have occurred there recently. This is a letter from the CPS. I received this letter just 3 weeks ago. Dear Miss Maxwell, I am the lawyer with the Crown Prosecution Service who is responsible for the prosecution of a youth arrested in connection with your complaint. As the defendant is a youth, for legal reasons I am unable to name him in this letter. It is my role to consider all the evidence by the police to see if there is a realistic prospect of conviction. When deciding whether a defendant should be charged and what the charge should be, I have to follow the guidance laid down in the Code for Crown Prosecutors. The Code sets out 2 tests to ensure that our decisions are both fair and consistent. Fair and consistent. The police officer responsible for investigating this matter requested advice in respect of the incident that occurred on the 14th of March 2011. After careful consideration of all the evidence presented by the Northumbria Police, I have come to the conclusion that the defendant should not be charged with any offence arising from the incident. The second of the tests I refer to above is the public interest test, where I have to consider if it is in the interests of the public as a whole to pursue a case. I have considered your account and note the impact this very distressing incident has clearly had on you. When making my decision, I must, however, consider that the initial complaint was made in March 2011. The defendant was excluded from school. He was subsequently required to undertake sexual awareness classes and write a letter of apology. Given this, I do not believe that it is in the public interest to proceed with any prosecution against the defendant in this matter. I appreciate that you may be disappointed with my decision. However, I have a duty to consider the needs of the public as a whole and not just those of the victim. You are entitled to an explanation for my decision because of your position as a person who complained of an offence. If you wish to meet me, I will try to answer any questions you have. However, if we meet, there may be matters I will not be able to discuss with you. It will not be possible at this meeting to alter my decision. Yours sincerely, Jim Hope. It's not in the public interest. Dear Mr. Hope, I am writing in response to your letter of the 7th of February 2012. I was informed by the investigating police officer that it's highly unusual to receive a letter from the CPS. She told me this when she delivered it by hand. Are you feeling guilty, Mr. Hope? Firstly, can I say, I'm not comfortable with the word complaint. When you state a youth was arrested in connection with my complaint. A complaint is when I get the wrong order from the takeaway. A complaint is if my telephone bill is too high. A complaint is if I wash my hair with L'Oreal and it doesn't turn out like Cheryl Cole's. A complaint is not when I'm put in a headlock by a burly 6-foot, 16-year-old lad and he laughs while he asks me to suck his cock. No, Mr. Hope, that's not a complaint, that's a sexual assault. And if it was your daughter, would you call it the same? Not a vicious attack, just a little complaint. Secondly, Mr. Hope, did you consider all the evidence obtained through months of investigation, witness statements and painful regurgitations of the facts? Because it seems to me strange that if you had, you wouldn't act so carelessly and just let this lad go scot-free. It sounds to me that in all the time you took to decide what the charge should be, you got confused. And you used the words fair and consistent. Did I mention, Mr. Hope, this incident took place in my classroom where I teach English, and after careful consideration of the facts, I've come to the conclusion you need a lesson. Thirdly, you say the defendant should not be charged with any offence arising from the incident because it's not in the public interest. It's not in the public interest. We will not proceed with any prosecution against the defendant because it's not in the public interest. A 2-week exclusion from school was his punishment. You state in your letter that you appreciate that I may be disappointed. A plaster on a knife wound won't hold, Mr. Hope. You again refer to the needs of the public as a whole and not just the victim when reaching a fair and consistent decision. I would agree that you've been consistent. Four months after this youth attacked me, Mr. Hope, he seriously sexually assaulted a young female pupil at school. Another incident when arrested he denied. Another female he claimed had lied. Your department was handling this complaint too. The investigating police officer cried when she informed us that this was another matter you had decided not to pursue. She told me that she'd met with the defendant recently in a last appeal to make him see sense, to make him admit his offence. I asked her if there was any hint of remorse, any change in him at all, and all she said was, he looked bigger. You state in your letter, Mr. Hope, that if I have any questions, I should not hesitate to contact you. So here I am. What exactly will it take for this sexual offender to be in the public interest? And second thoughts, don't answer that. Sincerely, Mandy Maxwell.